And what would the daily news cycle be without our daily World War III threat? Well, this week, Russian President Vladimir Putin delivered in spades. He's accused the United States of trying to draw the country into a war. Eamon, let's start with you. Who do we blame for the outbreak of World War III? The left or the right? Is Putin a Soviet throwback or is he a right-wing plutocrat? 30 seconds, go.
There is a world and a paradise, Joe, where left and right have come together and blended as one. And that is exactly who this guy is. A man who propped up the Soviet operation for so long has now taken over to become the ultimate ultra-right hero. Here he is. In fact, I'll tell you who is to blame for all this. Clearly the United States, who have been told not just by Russia, but now the president of Ukraine, guys, we're not going to war. Stop going around telling people it's a war.
So I do like that a lot, and well timed, by the way. You've basically, is this horseshoe theory? Is this the extreme left and the extreme right coming together? Because Putin has gone from being the head of the Soviet KGB to being, some people think he's the richest man in the world. We obviously don't know his wealth, but he's got these huge assets and he's basically just buying, and he mixes it up. He buys the prime ministership, then he buys the presidency, then he buys the prime ministership, then he buys the presidency. Parnell, who's to blame for World War III, the left or the right?
Well, let's start off by blaming the left, because you know what Germany did when it heard that World War III was about to start in Ukraine?
Play David
Hasselhoff. Devoted 3,000 helmets to the cause. So you've got the biggest economy in Europe has committed helmets to the Ukraine.
Thank you very
so
much.
That's what you get from the left sort of peacenik approach for the last few decades.
Could be useful, I have to say, though, because in World War I, the Russian soldiers, there were more of them than any other country, but they didn't have helmets. And they were killed much more. So the Germans, not that they were in a position to do so back then, maybe they're making up for it now.
Perhaps. But then I would also like to blame the right, because let's face it, with a gas pipeline of the sort, Putin has played globalism and neoliberalism to a T. Now he can just rattle his sabre a little bit and threaten to turn off that gas pipeline. And because the world is so globalised, because the EU is dependent on his gas...
International capitalism.
Right. So he already has won that war.
OK, you're getting 3 points already. Todd?
Look, I just want to say admiration for Putin here. He's the ultimate puppeteer, this bloke. But there's a role for Australia here as well. I mean, Australia's dispute with France has contributed to that instability across Europe. It's contributed to the uncertainty of relationships between the US and major European powers. And what does Putin do? He just decides, now is the time for me to flex my muscles, test what's going to happen if I do threaten war. And then he's got a plan. We all know he's got a plan. We just don't know what it is. So he's in ultimate control, which is where he was when he was the spy back in the 80s and 90s, which is where he obviously is in control of his finances, because, as you say, he's doing quite well. I think, again, he's just proved his political mastery over the last few weeks. We'll see what happens over the next few weeks.
So he's basically doing the exact same thing he did in the KGB, but this time with heaps of money instead of heaps of spies.